Hey besties, welcome back to Viruses and Vibes, the only podcast where microbiology meets meteorites, and we ask the big questions, like could your next cold be cosmic? I'm your host, Carly Mingus, and today we're diving into something that's truly out of this world. Buckle up because we're talking virolithopanspermia, the theory that viruses might hitch rides on space rocks. Yep, we're talking all things viral. While looking through some scientific literature this week, I stumbled upon a paper by Dr. Frederick Bushman. The paper was titled, Virolithopanspermia, Might Viruses Be Transported in Rocks Through Space? Now, the title immediately caught my attention, because what do you mean there's viruses traveling through space? Now, if you know me in real life, you know one of my fascinations is space. Not only that, but as a biology undergraduate, potential life forms in space are so intriguing to me. That being said, I just had to see what this paper was all about. Now, although it's a mouthful, the meaning of virolithopanspermia is quite simple. And to make it even simpler, I'm going to break the word down piece by piece, no pun intended. The first part of the word that we're going to focus on here is panspermia, and this is the hypothesis that life can be spread or carried through space. Then we're going to add on litho. Lithopanspermia is whenever life is spread through space through rocks like comets, meteorites, and asteroids. Lastly, to add on viro, this just adds the virus aspect to the word. Virolithopanspermia is the theory that viral particles or viruses spread through space through rocks, comets, and meteorites. And Dr. Bushman's paper was focused on how likely it is that this theory is true. So one of the first things we need to consider when trying to determine how much truth there is behind this theory is whether or not the viruses can even survive in space. As we all know, space has some pretty extreme conditions, and I think that's quite the understatement, to say the least. But these viruses have to be able to endure these harsh conditions. And another issue that we run into is the host-to-virus ratio. So as viruses depend on a host, there needs to be plenty of host for these viruses to thrive. However, we know that in space, this host pool is going to be pretty slim. And for those of you who may not know, a host is just going to be a bacteria, plant, or animal, just a living being. So from viruses here on Earth, we do know that the virus-to-host ratio can actually be quite high in things like rocks and clay. And some studies have actually shown that viruses can live at great depths here as well, and they deteriorate much slower even though there aren't near as many hosts. Another thing to consider as we're discussing virolithopanspermia, sorry, it's a fun word and I just wanted to say it again, is how often are chunks of rock coming off of Earth's surface and catapulting themselves through space. Clearly, this is something we have to think about because if pieces of Earth's surface aren't even spreading through space, then how in the world are the viruses spreading through space? So, for chunks of Earth to spread in space, that means that the Earth has to take some sort of impact from an asteroid or other rock from space. We all know that, thankfully, this isn't something that typically happens nowadays. So from when Earth first came to be, scientists think that only about 300 million fragments of Earth could have potentially been able to spread pieces of life. And that being said, in the grand scheme of things, it's likely that if any viruses have even spread through space, it's not many of them. So I'm sure you're wondering, though, what Dr. Bushman has to say about how likely it is. Dr. Bushman said that it's fair to speculate this theory. He said that it's possible that the Earth has indeed been spewing out viral particles slowly, and then it's likely spread to other areas and objects in space. This theory is a valid thing to consider, given that some viruses thrive in the environment similar to that of the inside of a space rock, as well as some viruses' structures could help them survive the process of spreading to other objects. This makes viruses a great thing to look for when looking for extraterrestrial life, because some viruses are able to endure these harsher environments, and they're able to thrive here while outnumbering their host. They would be more abundant and easier to find. So time for my 2 cents. I think the theory is fascinating to say the least, and I guess I kind of hope for it to be true. Like Dr. Bushman, I think it's completely fair to speculate. At the moment, I don't believe there's a whole lot of information surrounding this, though, I just don't know that it's something a whole bunch of other scientists have jumped on board with. And that being said, it's hard for me to fully form an opinion on this. I really want this to be true, just because I think it's really cool and it could encourage more thinking of life beyond Earth. And there is a decent amount of evidence, if that's what you could even call it, to back the idea, and many scientists say there's a high possibility of it being true. The only thing is that there's just no genuine research on it yet. The research Dr. Bushman used to defend this theory is based off of research here on Earth, obviously. And that being said, there's not much that we can do to get close to the conditions that would be on a meteorite, if we even knew the conditions of the meteorite. I mean, the research we're using now is just based off of harsh environments here on Earth. One of these harsh environments on Earth that we found viruses is permafrost, which if you don't know is a mixture of soil, ice, and rock. Viruses found here have lied dormant for thousands of years, like over 40,000 years, y'all. I'm not kidding. And a little side convo here, in lame terms, dormant means that the virus is inactive, but it can become active or grow again. Other places we found viruses are within glaciers, and get this, sealed inside rocks. That being said, I think if we're already finding viruses sealed inside of rocks, which is likely a requirement for this hypothesis to work, and we're finding viruses that can survive other harsh conditions, who's to say there aren't viruses out there capable of surviving in space? We also know that rocks going into space is a definite thing. It's no secret that the Earth used to be hit and send debris into space all the time. Given that these two requirements could be met, to me, this seems like a completely practical theory. Alrighty, y'all, and that's a wrap on today's interstellar infection speculation. If you're feeling inspired, go chase that rabbit hole and explore the weird, wonderful world of virolithopanspermia. Yes, I said it again. As always, questions, comments, and cosmic concerns go in the comments. References are in the description below. Until next time, I'm your host, Carly Mingus, and I'll catch you on the next orbit here at Viruses and Vibes.